Bhaishajya Kalpana, Department of Dravyaguna and Department of Agad Tantra, National Institute of Ayurveda, deemed to be University Jaipur. Today, our guest speaker is respected Professor Shobha Bhat ma'am, Head of the Department of Agad Tantra, Banaras Hindu University. Ma'am will be sharing with us clinical implications of certain Agad yogas. So now I invite Professor Anita Sharma ma'am to please welcome our guest speaker. Professor Anita Sharma ma'am.
Thank you. सभी को नमस्कार. आज की औषध जिज्ञासा 11th ऑनलाइन वेबिनार सीरीज में मैं सर्वप्रथम द्रव्यगुण विभागाध्यक्ष एवं प्रो वाइस चांसलर प्रोफेसर मीता कोटेचा मैम तथा रस शास्त्र विभागाध्यक्ष अनुपम श्रीवास्तव सर का स्वागत करती हूँ. साथ ही अगद तंत्र द्रव्य गुण एवं रस शास्त्र विभागीय अध्यापक, यूजी, पीजी, पीएचडी स्कॉलर्स तथा सभी प्रतिभागी जो कि ऑनलाइन माध्यम से जुड़े हैं, सभी का स्वागत करती हूँ. आज की गेस्ट स्पीकर शोभा भट्ट मैम का तहे दिल से स्वागत अभिनंदन करती हूँ, जिन्होंने बिजी शेड्यूल होने के बावजूद इस लेक्चर के लिए समय निकाला और ज्ञानवर्धन के लिए हमारे बीच में उपस्थित हुई. यह लेक्चर सभी प्रतिभागियों के लिए फ्रूटफुल रहेगा, ऐसी मैं आशा करती हूँ. पुनः आपका सबका बहुत बहुत स्वागत और अभिनंदन करती हूँ. धन्यवाद.
Thank you, ma'am. Before proceeding further, let me customarily introduce today's guest speaker, respected Professor Shobha Bhat ma'am. She has graduated from STM College, Udupi, post-graduated in Agad Tantra from Vaidyaratnam PS Warrior Ayurveda College, Kottakkal, and gained her doctoral degree from IMS BHU. Ma'am is presently working as professor and head of department of Agad Tantra in Banaras Hindu University. She has been a resource person and keynote speaker in more than 28 conferences. She has more than 20 papers published, one chapter of Vish Chikitsa in ebook and one textbook of Agad Tantra published to ma'am's credit. So now, without wasting more time, I request Professor Shobha Bhat ma'am to please share her knowledge with all of us. Please, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Meghna. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Respected dignitaries present in this webinar series today, the Head Department of Dravyaguna, Professor Meeta Kotecha ma'am, the Head Department of Rasashastra, Professor Anupam Srivastav, and the Head Department of Agad Tantra, Professor Anita Sharma, and all the other members present in this webinar series. To begin with, I would like to acknowledge and thank the Aushadha Jijnasa, the organizers of Aushadha Jijnasa, for having given me this opportunity to share my views with the young, energetic minds on the topic of the clinical implication of certain Agada Yoga. I must admit before I start that since the past 7 years, I'm working here in IMS BHU, and very unluckily, I must say it is very unluckily that we are not yet given the OPD here. We have not yet been able to convince the higher authorities for an OPD or an IPD in Agad Tantra, but the process is on, and with the support of all the faculties here, I'm very sure very soon we will be starting our OPD and IPD facilities at IMS BHU. But in whatever I'm going to say is based on the clinical exposure studies in graduation or little sessions and the online patients that I get. Very recently, before experiences that I have had, recently after I have joined BHU, while interviewing the young minds in Agad Tantra, what I really feel is that all throughout the country, this speciality of Agad Tantra is yet to establish itself. in many parts of the country, we are sticking on yet into the theoretical aspects of Agad Tantra. And in recent histories, that is in 15 to 20 years, special attention is being given to this branch of Agad Tantra and Vishachikitsa in particular. And we are able to listen to experts in this field sharing their views. But still, we are a long way ahead, and we have just started the journey. In the restoration of this clinical branch, the journey has just started, which markedly demarcates us from the rest of the specialities, the clinical speciality in Ayurveda. So recently, in the latest gazette, we have noticed a drastic change that OPD for Agad Tantra is made compulsory, and internship posting also has been added, which is a positive note, so that people in working in this field can get optimum chances of exploring their field. With this background, I would like to start with my presentation today. I would like to touch upon certain yogas. In the interviews that I was talking about, whenever we ask the students in Agad Tantra regarding their clinical exposure, or at least to name a few yogas that are used in Agad Tantra, we see that the answer starts with Bulvadi Gutika and ends with Dushi Vishari Gutika. And luckily or unluckily, there are only 2 or 3 tricks that our students are able to learn, able to exhibit themselves with. That is Bilvadi Gutika, Dushi Vishari Gutika, and maximum the Shanga Agada. And the list doesn't continue henceforth. The rest will be all from the general knowledge they have regarding the other specialities, and not in particular to Vishachikitsa. So we as Vishachikitsaka, I feel, we should gain knowledge and try out using things which are in specifically mentioned for the treatment of Visha. So I have selected about 5 drugs today, which have references from different context of Visha itself, and which are clinically also very applicable. When I say this, I also would like to remember or recall that NIA Jaipur happens to be one of the strongest institutes which has a clinical department, functional clinical department of Agad Tantra. We get to hear that lots of cases related with de-addiction under the guidance of Professor Anita Sharma is happening there, and Professor Pote, Sir Sharad Pote, he has been in with cancer management. We get to listen to us, and the others are finding how support and find out newer areas. So with this happy background, I thought that we discuss some drugs which can be useful realization in such areas also, may be de-addiction, from where I have been exposed, mainly deal with Visha, or we deal with skin disorders, and less exposure towards addiction, de-addiction, or cancer management. These are newer areas which are yet to be explored. So the drug that we'll discuss on, we tried. The request that these must be tried in NIA Jaipur. If they are tried, then the works come out in publication forms so that people will know what actually these drugs are working and how they are working on. Begin, I would like to start with the reference of a grata, that is Kalyanaka grata. Next slide, please. The reference of Kalyanaka grata is found in different samhitas. In Charaka Samhita, it is in the Unmada Chikitsa. In Sushruta Samhita, specifically Acharya Sushruta has put this yoga in the Kalpasthana under the Vishachikitsa in the Dundubhisvani Adhyaya, and in Ashtangridya again it has been explained under Unmada Pratisheda Adhyaya. The word itself, Kalyanaka, it refers to Kalyane Shubha Karmani, yeah, Shreyaskara. So the Kalyanaka Grita is supposed to act on these grounds, as the name suggests. The reference that I am going to discuss is from Sushruta Samhita. Sorry. Vidanga Trifaladanti Vadradaru Hare Namaha Talishapatram Manjistha Keshara Utpala Padmakam Dadimam Malati Pushpam Rajanyau Sarive Sthire Priyangus Tagaram Kushtam Brahatyau Cha Eila Valukam Sa Chandana Gavakshiribhid Etaihi Siddham Vishapaham Sarpihi Kalyanakam Hyetat Graha Apasmara Nashanam Pandu Amaya Gara Shwasa Mandagni Jwara Kasanut Shoshinam Alpashukranam Vandhyanam Cha Prashasyate. This is the original reference in Sushruta-kalpa's 6th chapter. The contents as well as the Falashruti have been explained, and it is notable that the Falashruti begins with Vishapaham. That is why the Grita has been explained not under Unmada Prakarana, though we have in the Falashruti Apasmara or Unmada, it is mentioned here, but it begins with Vishapaham. And one more point that is to be noted here is Pandu Amaya Gara. Gara Visha is specifically mentioned here, not only Vishapaham, Gara Visha is also mentioned separately in the Falashruti. When you look into the Falashruti, the other diseases that is this Grita is intended to treat is Graha, Apasmara, Pandu, Amaya, Shwasa, Mandagni, Jwara, Kasa, Shoshinam, Alpashukranam, Vandhyanam. All these diseases, if you see, are somewhere related with the signs and symptoms of either Garavisha or Dushivisha or Viruddhahara that has been mentioned in the various samhitas. Like Kasa, Shwasa, Jwara, all these are the lakshanas of both Gara and Dushi also we find. Shoshinam, Alpashukranam, Vandhyanam, all this may be produced due to Viruddhahara. In the disease list that has been explained, these are also mentioned. So the drug which is acting is mainly Vishapaha, is Garanashaka, and it also concentrates on the other diseases which are again manifested. In the manifestation of these diseases, we get to see the involvement of either Dushi or Gara or Viruddhahara. The individual contents, Vidanga, Haritaki, Vibhitaki, Amalak. I don't think so I need to go into the details of this. All this is available as per the sloka. This is just compiled. But one thing that is to be noted here is, we know that all the Visha possesses Tikshna, the gunas are very Tikshna, potent gunas, Dasha gunas. And when we come into the treatment modality, we usually tend to have a notion that the drugs that we select should be having opposite qualities. But it should be noted here, the gunas, if you see, the virya of these drugs, major of these drugs are Ushna Virya Dravyas, and the gunas also, Lagu Rukshat predominant gunas, Ushna Tikshna predominant gunas, which are in accordance to the gunas of Visha. They are not opposite to that of Visha, but the drugs which treat Visha, the Agadas which treat Visha, they also possess the gunas, or the virya of that will be in accordance with Visha itself. Tali Sapatra, Manjista, Nagakeshara, Utpala, Padmaka, Dadima, Malati Pushpa, Haridra, Daru Haridra, Haridre, both Shweta and Krishna Sariva, Shaliparni, Prishnaparni, Priyangu, Tagara, Kusta, Brihati Kantakari, Ela Valuka, Chandana, Gavakshi, Bhadradaru and Harenu. And the major content is the Grita. It is a Grita Kalpana. Grita in itself is of Madhura Rasa, Madhura Vipaka, Guru Snigdha and Shita Virya. And in the karma, apart from the Ojas Kara, Shukra Kara or Rasa Hitam, Daha Prashamanam, we have all this. It is Rasayana in itself. And this Kalyanaka Grita, if you see the Rasa, it is again Tikta Pradhana Rasa, Tikta followed by Madhura and Kashaya. Tikta Kashaya Madhura is the prominence in Rasa. In the gunas, if you can see, it is the Lagu Guna and Ruksha. We know that both Lagu and Ruksha are the gunas of Visha, but Kalyanaka Grita also possesses richness, drugs which are rich in Lagu and Ruksha Guna. The karma of these drugs, if you have a permutation and combination, you will see that a majority of drugs, about 28%, have Vishagna property, followed by Kushtagna. You also have Shotahara and Krimigna property, Rasayana and Rakta Doshahara properties. We know that now why Kalyanaka Grita and what are its clinical applications. We know that in the context of Visha, it is very well explained that Sarveshu Sarva Avastheshu Visheshu na Grutopamam Vidyate Bhaishajam Kinchit Visheshat Prabale Anale. In the context, in the treatment of Visha, one must consider Grita as the modality and Sarveshu in all forms of Visha, Sarva Avastheshu. So in Sarveshu, Sarva Avastheshu, Visheshu na Grutopamam Vidyate Bhaishaj. Therefore, it is always preferable that we use a Grita Kalpana in any forms of Visha. And among the Grita, though it is Ajaya Grita, Amrita Grita, such things are also mentioned, but we usually don't get these in the market. The most important Grita available in the market is Kalyanaka Grita. Of course, there is a slight variation in the composition of Kalyanaka Grita which is available in the markets. It usually Ashtanga or Charaka Samhita references followed. Contents are a little different. But both in all these texts, apart from Unmada Prakarana, though it is mentioned in Unmada, Visha is always there in the Falashruti as well. And in the Sushruta Kalpana, in the Sushruta Kalpa, the context there explained is especially for Vishapaha. So if we can prepare Kalyanaka Grita as per the explanation given, as per the combination given by Acharya Sushruta, we believe that, or the ones which are available in the market with slight differences, they surely will have the Vishahara property. So in any conditions of, maybe not in acute conditions, in chronic conditions where we find the involvement of Dushi or Gara, we can go for the Gritapana with Kalyanaka Grita. Now clinically, when we in dermatology, we usually get patients of psoriasis or patients of eczema or urticaria. What we notice is usually the line of management begins with Tiktaka Grita or Mahatiktaka. Especially repeated Shodhana has been mentioned in such dermatological disorders in any variety of Kusta. So when we go for Shodhana, we can go for the specific Grita which is mentioned under the context of that particular Kusta. So naturally people tend to go for Tiktaka or Mahataktaka Grita. Then when we in the Agada OPD, when we find such patients, they would have already shown themselves into the Kaya Chikitsa OPD or some other OPDs and have undergone several Shodhana procedures. And then somebody tells them you tried Agada OPD also. So when they come here, we usually go for Kalyanaka Grita, even for Shodhana. The Snehapana is being done with Kalyanaka Grita, and we find drastic differences between Tiktaka and Kalyanaka. Kalyanaka has its own effect. It not only shows its effect on the body, but also on the mind. So maybe it is explained mainly in the Unmada Prakarana. And in diseases, in chronic dermatological diseases like psoriasis or eczema, people have a lot of stress involved because of their presentation of the disease, the repeated remission and relapse of the disease. And in such diseases, it is always apt you select such Gritas like Kalyanaka Grita. Not only in dermatology, in the other conditions also, following Shodhana also, in Shamana, when you are to go into Shamana Ushadis when we select, we prefer Kalyanaka Grita in the Shamana Matra, everyday dose of about 5 to 10 ml. That gives very good results for the patients to keep them away from the involvement of Gara or Dushi Visha as well. Now, regarding the drugs, combination of drugs here, when we see the gunas, for example, we have already discussed that the gunas are in accordance with the gunas of Visha. Now, how can we select this? Now, we are selecting a medicine which has gunas similar to that of Visha also. But then we know that Visha is a Tikshna in nature, and hence in order to treat this Tikshnatva, we should also select those dravyas which tend to be tikshna and not just shita. So we need Ushnavirya drugs which can go and act by Prabhava. We know that Vishagna karma of a medicine is mainly due to its Prabhava. And in the combination, we see maximum drugs have Vishagna karma or Vishagna Prabhava. And with their Prabhava, which supersedes the guna, they go and affect the Visha itself in spite of having the similar gunas. So those dravya which are possess tikshnadi gunas and which cause hita effect in the body, they can be considered under agada. And if the same gunas, because of their tikshnatva, they cause ahita effect, ahita dravyas which cause ahita consequences on the body, those can be categorized as visha. So the agadas that we use, they also tend to possess the qualities of the gunas of visha, but then they are in a pramana which can cause hita to the body and not just ahita. So in all these conditions, in the OPDs involved in NIA maybe, either in patients of addiction due to afim, bhang, or maybe alcohol in itself. Especially, I guess we get more patients of withdrawal symptoms, and in such patients, one should go for this gritapana. This grita also can act as we have a concept of hridaya varna mentioned in the treatment of Vishachikitsa. The grita is several gritas are being mentioned, and daily hridaya varnam nityam kuryacha mitra madhyagah. Daily dose one has to go for pibet gritam, gritakshadram, agadam va gritapam. Grita is been advised there, though in Sushruta's reference we get specific gritas like Pibet, Gritam Ajeyakyam, Amritakyam cha Buddhiman. Ajeya Grita and Amrita Grita, if we can prepare and give to the patients, it is good. But then, if not, Kalyana Grita is available in the market, and even for the purpose of Hridaya Varna, one can go for the intake of Kalyanaka Grita. And we see drastic changes in patients when we use Kalyanaka Grita. This we have already discussed. Mandagni, Pandu, Shosha, all these are long standing, and Pandu, Shosha and Mandagni, I guess, are the presentations which are found in patients of following chemotherapy or radiotherapy, or patients of cancer as well, which Dr. Sharad Pote sir has been concentrating upon. So I have a request to both Anita ma'am and Sharad Pote sir that please try the use of Kalyanaka Grita in these patients. You have a huge number of patients, and maybe one day we can get a statistical data wherein the use of Kalyanaka Grita is being advised to such patients also, and we can find the changes. The next drug I would like to touch upon is the Ekasaragana. Again, reference is from Sushruta Samhita, that is Sarpa Dashta Vishachikitsitam Nama, Panchamo Adhyaya. The last sloka of this chapter, 5th chapter, Somaraji Phalam Pushpam, Katabhi Sindhuvarakaha, Chorako Varunaha Kushtam, Sarpaganda Sasaptala, Punarnava Shirishasya Pushpam Aragvada Arkajam Shyama Ambhashta Vidangani Tatha Amra Ashmantakani cha Bhumi Kurabakaschaiva Gana Ekasaraha Smataha. Kalyanaka Grita is still available in the market, and in many places this is very commonly used. But one Gana that is not touched upon is the Ekasara Gana. In the it is we know very well that both Acharya Charaka and Acharya Sushruta have mentioned several ganas, and in different adhyayas. In Sushruta, the ganas in the Dravya Sangrahani adhyaya, that is Sushruta Sutra, 38th chapter, I guess, several ganas have been explained. The combination of drugs in the form of ganas have been explained. But when it comes to the Visha Chikitsa, Acharya again explains a specific gana called as Ekasara Gana. And in this, Acharya says, specifically says this, Ekasho Dvi Trisho Vapi Prayoktavyo Vishapaha. It is not necessary that we get all these drugs in combination. But even if you can use 1, 2, 3 or the available drugs, then it can cause the Vishahara guna or Vishahara Prabhava. It is Vishahara, Vishapaha. And in all kinds of Visha, this is indicated. The drugs are also not too many here. Bakuchi, Katabi, Nirgundi, Choraka, Varuna, Kushta, Sarpaganda, Saptala, Punarnava, Shirisha, Aragvada, Arka, Shama, Patha, Vidanga, Amra, Ashmantaka, along with Krishna Mritika and Kurabaka. This is the combination of Ekasaragana. So this is one drug which somebody has to take up and try. So in the PG institutes, I really request that wherein there is clinical practice as well, if all these drugs are not non-availability of these drugs is not noticed, it is available everywhere. So Ekasara Gana should be opted for clinical applications. And if all are the Acharya gives us the power to use at least in combination, we can, if all these drugs are not available, we can choose 3 or 4 of them or 6 or 7 of them, whichever is available, we can all put them together. And the form of the drug in which it has to be used, that is also not explained here. So it is based on the yukti of the physician that one can use these drugs either in Pana or Nasya or Anjana in any cases of poisoning. So even while we treat, Pana is the most feasible way of treatment. So either in the Kashaya form or in the Churna form or in the Gutika form, we must go for this Ekasara group, Gana, and then try for its clinical application. If you can see the combinations again based on the rasa, again, this all the dravyas here, in the Amshamsha Kalpana, we get to see that 38% of this drug is Tikta and followed by Katu. So Tikta Katu is the Pradhanatva in rasa. And in the Guna again, it is Laghu Ruksha and Tikshna. So Laghu, Ruksha, Tikshna, apart from the little other gunas, we have the Laghu, Ruksha and Tikshna guna which are predominant. Just like all the other Agadas that we use, Ekasara Gana is also expected to have very good results because of its gunas or because of its action by its rasa. It has similarity with either Bilvadi or Dushi Vishari that we use. Again, the karma, if you see, the individual drugs when compiled, majority 31% has Vishagna karma, followed by Kushtagna and Krimigna, and Shotagna also. So Shotagna, Vishagna, Krimigna and Kushtagna, these form the Rakta Doshahara. This is also in all the drugs that I have explained. I'll discuss it at the end. We see this Rakta Doshahara property of several drugs has been noticed along with Vishagna and Kushtagna property. So Ekasara Gana is one such drug which has to be taken up by any one of us, and we should try it out on patients, especially in alcoholic patients. I guess we must try this drug so that we can have the Vishaharatva. Shotagna property is also necessary along with Krimigna. So this drug can be a good choice in the form of either Kashaya or Churna or Gutika, depending on the palatability. We all have been commonly using Bilvadi Gutika throughout the country. Even UG students, they know the applications of this drug. One drug, if we ask anywhere to name, the most known drug is the Bilvadi Gutika. But very unluckily, Visha Bilvadi, which is an advanced stage of Bilvadi, is not known to many. Visha Bilvadi is also a marvelous drug, just like Bilvadi. We know that Bilvadi is a Ramabana for many diseases in Vishachikitsa. Not only in Vishachikitsa, its indications are mentioned in other contexts too. But then we have one more drug called as Visha Bilvadi or Visha Bilvadi, which is mentioned in the Keraliya Vishachikitsa textbooks like Kriya Kaumudi or Prayoga Samuchaya also, I guess this is mentioned. and it has only 3 extra drugs, that is Nilini, Ishwari Mula and Phata. These 3 drugs are added to the combination of Bilvadi Gutika. In the combination of Bilvadi Gutika, we all know it is Bilvasya Mula, Surasasya Pushpam, Phalam Karanjasya, Natam, Surahvam, Phalatrikam, Vyosha, Nishadvayam cha, Bastasya Mutrena Susukshma Pishtam. So Bastasya Mutra is being used here, and the word Susukshma Pishtam is the speciality of Bilvadi Gutika. When we speak about Susukshma Pishta, we have not yet standardized what this means. Though Bilvadi is very commonly found in prescriptions, especially by the Vishachikitsakas, Susukshma Pishtam is not yet standardized. Some people feel that Susukshma Pishtam is bhavana given with Ajamutra for about 1 month. Some say it is months together. Some Keraliya Vishachikitsakas, some have the opinion that it is for about 1 year, 1 year of Ajamutra Bhavana to these drugs, so that it comes into that form of Susukshma Pishtam. People who practice Vishachikitsaka, the traditional Vishavaidyas, they have their own drugs and they prepare their own drugs. And whenever they get acute poisoning cases like cobra bites or viper bites or crate bites also, they use this Bilvadi or Vishavilvadi, which has been given bhavana repeatedly with Ajamutra. The more the bhavana, the more active it is supposed to be or potent it is supposed to be. Now, in the markets, we are sure we cannot find such drugs which have repeated or more bhavanas. But then, whatever is available, if you add 3 more drugs to them, that is Nilini, Ishwaramuli, and Phata. These 3 drugs, when they are added, this Bilvadi becomes Vishavilvadi. So Vishavilvadi is one drug which is much more potent than Bilvadi. In the Vishachikitsakas have both Bilvadi and Vishavilvadi in their clinics. When the condition is not too severe, they prefer Bilvadi, and when the conditions are tending towards more severity, they choose Vishavilvadi because it has 3 potent Vishagna Dravyas, Nilini, Ishwarimuli and Phata. The Vishachikitsakas, traditional Vishavaidyas, they use these individually also. Nilini or Ishwaramuli is one drug which is used for Nasya. Immediately as soon as the patient comes, they give Nasya with Ishwaramuli alone. But Vishavilvadi, if they have Vishavilvadi, when the Bilvadi added with these 3 drugs, now the first line of treatment is Nasya or Anjana with Vishavilvadi, and then they go for use of other gutikas like Jivaraksha Gutika or Tarunabhaskara Gutika in case of, I'm speaking, Tivra Vishata, that snake bite poisoning with venomous snake bites. So Vishavilvadi used. Madam, I have some disturbances. Could you please check out? The method of preparation of this Bilvadi, we have already seen regarding Susukshma Pishtam. Students from Bhaishajya
Ma'am, you are not audible.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am, now it's audible.
You kindly don't mute me. You are muting me also.
Okay.
Okay. So we were discussing on the method of preparation of Vishavilvadi or Bilvadi. And in the references, we find Susukshma Pishtam. And in Susukshma Pishtam, we were discussing on how much bhavana is to be given. That is to be noticed. Apart from that is a question mark. uh, it is yet to be standardized, and depending on the yukti, people follow different methods. But then the original reference says susukshma pistam. And some Vishavaidyas in Kerala, they even add ashwagandha to the combination of bilvadi apart from Nilini, Pata and Ishwaramuli, so as to get the rasayana benefit of Vishavilvadi. Now, in the Falashruti of Bilvadi, we see Bhujanga, Luta, Undura, Vrishchikadin, Visuchika, Ajirna, Garajwaraischa, आर्थानरान् भूतविकर्षितांश्च स्वस्तीकरोति अंजन पान नस्यैः. So this is the Falashruti we all know regarding Bilvadi. The same Falashruti is expected with Visha Bilvadi also, but then only if 3 drugs are added, it gives a greater effect in severity of poison. One selects Visha Bilvadi. And if a drug like ashwagandha is added to the combination, this is for people in Dravyaguna, students of Dravyaguna, permutation and combination of drugs. In Ekasara Gana, we saw that 2, 3 or 4 can be selected to get the same effect. Now, which among these, which 2, which 3, which 4, maybe students from Dravyaguna can tell us, or in Vishavilvadi, traditional Vishavaidyas, they add ashwagandha also so that this drug can have a rasayana effect also. So that is also noticed. And Vishavilvadi or Bilvadi, when it is mixed with Kshara, externally we use it in different diseases like some viral manifestations like warts, or we have diseases like molluscum contagiosus. In such diseases wherein there is viral involvement and an external skin lesion, in order we don't have go for Agni Karma or cautery in any way, just the local application of Visha Bilvadi or Bilvadi Gutika with a particular kshara, or even just chuna, which we used along with tobacco, even that application can reduce the symptoms, or we can get rid of these diseases. This is noticed in clinical practice. And in prolonged medication, where a patient is undergone prolonged medication, like he has a patient who is taken treatment for cancer or for tuberculosis or for AIDS, maybe they are prone for repeated infections, and they need one drug which can give them a rasayana effect also and keep the complications of these medications also out. We know that AKT4, that is normal drug remedy for tuberculosis or COX. Even for cancer management, we have potent anti-cancerous drug. People don't come directly to Ayurveda for cancer management. And we also don't say recommend patients to avoid, maybe if patient is not interested to take chemo or radio, that is different. But we in cancer managements with Ayurveda, we get patients who have already undergone chemotherapy or radiotherapy and they don't want to go for repeated chemos. So in such cases, maybe the patient has already taken so much of medicines and for prolonged medication is there. In such patients, we go for the use of Visha Bilvadi, maybe along with added with ashwagandha for rasayana and the other to get the other effects also. Again, if you see the rasa, it is Tikta Pradhana Katu and Kashaya. Tikta Katu Kashaya, that is 36% of Tikta and Katu followed by Katu. Again, Guna, it is Laghu Ruksha Tikshna. Laghu Ruksha is dominant followed by Tikshna Guna of these Dravyas. I wanted to draw your attention towards this published paper, an experimental study on the antivenom activity of Vishabilvadi Kutika in cobra venom injected visitor albino rats by from the department of Agad Tantra SDM Hasan. In this paper, kindly go through this paper. Specifically, I would like to bring your notice to this. See, in this study, what was done? Cobra venom was purchased and it was injected to the experimental model, and in LD50 dose. One group LD50 dose, and in the first column, the first row, venom LD50 control. In that, we see that after 1 hour, all the 6 rats, mice died, and a number of survived animal percentage, 6. they were surviving. In the second hour also they were surviving, but in the end of third hour, only 4 survived. And at the end of fourth hour, no mice survived. All were dead. This was an venom injected group. And then in the second group, venom in LD50 dose along with Vishavilvadi in therapeutic dose. And you can see that even at the end of fourth hour, where otherwise the mice died, even in the end of fourth hour, all the mice were alive. And at the end of 24th hour, only 2 were alive. So from 4th to 24th, it was only after about 6 to 8 hours that we noticed that the mice started dying, but not all. And when it was given in the 2 TED dose, at the end of 24th hours, 3 were surviving, and so on. This gives us a lot of a positivity. See, Vishavilvadi, this is practically used by the Vishachikitsikas. Maybe along with the other treatments like Taruna Bhaskara or Jiva Raksha, we have seen when I used to do post-graduation in Kottakkal, we were exposed to the patients of cobra or viper bites in the traditional Visha Vaidyas. We were posted there. We got an opportunity to meet and interact with them. So they claim, and we have also seen them treating with a variety of drugs, muhur, usage of Vishavilvadi, Taruna Bhaskara in the form of Anjana, Nasya, Vishavilvadi or Bilvadi in Anjana, Nasya, and Pana. And for Pana, they have more potent drugs like Jiva Raksha or Taruna Bhaskara that is used. But Vishavilvadi is the most commonest drug used by Vishavaidyas in the treatment of envenomation. And this is proven in the study. We can't claim that our drugs can have full treatment. It is a complete treatment modality. One particular Vishavilvadi can cure the cobra venom, maybe even without antivenom. We are too far yet to claim this through researchers. But this study shows that the time gap that can be prolonged. Repeated use, if you give 4th hour, dekho, in the end of 4th hour, otherwise where the mice died, they did not die when we gave them with Vishavilvadi in the therapeutic dose. Maybe at the end of 7th hour, in Visha, we know that the treatment must be muhur. Maybe in the end of 7th hour, again in the end of 11th hour, you go on giving Vishavilvadi, the time that gap can be increased so that the patient from a rural area, usually bites are in rural areas, they can be shifted very safely to the urban areas where the facilities for antivenom and other facilities are available. So this certainly should be our claim, and we should try these drugs more oftenly. And such studies must also be conducted so that we can have evidence-based practice of Vishachikitsa. Certain other Jangama Visha which we used to treat in Kottakkal, all these are from either Kottakkal or SDM Udupi, where I used to study or deal with patients. These are all lower presentations of Kita Visha, wherein we don't see the severity. In such cases, you can go for Bilvadi. But then in these 3 presentations, the one in between, more of Pitta with swelling, with oozing, and with pus formation, maybe you can select Vishavilvadi than Bilvadi, which is a little more advanced or potent drug. Such wherein you have features of inflammation and infections also, you can directly go for Vishavilvadi than Bilvadi. Luta Visha presentations, we have different varieties here. One wherein there are simple pustules, maybe there you can go for Bilvadi. Wherein you see crust formation due to the presence of pus, maybe you can go for Vishavilvadi. So that was all about Vishavilvadi Gutika with 3 additional drugs to Bilvadi Gutika. One lepa I would like to discuss on is the Shigru Punarnavadi lepa. This is a reference from Visha Josnika. It is a Keraliya Vishachikitsa textbook. Shigru Punarnava Manjal Vayambu Chandana Patayo Ishwara Muli Yasti Shirisha Nerin Nilumoppam Tekilodan Vishavika Mudangum. I'm not a Keralite. I guess we have Madam in Rasashastra from Kerala. Maybe she could correct me if I have some mistakes in my pronunciations. But then It is not about Kerala, Karnataka, Banaras, or Jaipur. It is about the drug. We should know the commonest drugs which are available in the market and which we can use effectively in clinical practice, so that all of us can follow this. So this Shigru Punarnavadi yoga is usually used in the Lepa form for external application in all forms of Visha, wherein we see Shofa as a presentation. The combination is Shigru, Punarnava, Manjal is Haridra, Vayambu is Vacha, Chandana, Patha, Ishwaramuli is Ishwari, Yashti, Shirisha, Nerinnilumoppam. Nerinnilu is Gokshura. So these are the combination. Only 10 drugs taken Nodan Vishavika Mudangum. That means the form of application of this drug is external application in the form of Lepa, and when it is applied, Vishavikam, that is swelling which is produced due to Visha, that will be drastically reduced. That is the sloka of Shigru Punarnavadi. And I guess all students of Agad Tantra must know this yoga, that is Shigru Punarnavadi yoga. Again, when we see the gunas, rasa, it is Tikta Pradhana, Katu, and you have the gunas, Lagu and Ruksha. We have discussed regarding this. External application is the mode of application of this drug, and it subsides all form of swelling. Now, we have used this drug not only in bite cases, especially in viper bites, or we have a variety of pit vipers, the Malabar pit vipers, very commonly found these days in coastal belts of Kerala and Karnataka. I get patients on calls even now from those belts wherein patients are bitten by pit vipers, Malabar pit viper especially. They have huge swelling.
Sorry to disturb you, but your slides are not moving, ma'am. It's still on that Ashwagandha Rasayana.
Okay, just a minute, please. Is this visible now?
Yes, ma'am. It is visible.
So, yes, we were speaking about Shigru Punarnavadi yoga. Achha, I guess you have missed a lot then. That's okay. I'll share the slides if it is necessary. You people can go through if it is interesting. So Shigru Punarnavadi Lepa we were speaking about, and we were seeing the contents of Shigru Punarnavadi Lepa. And mainly it is used in external modality in all swellings produced due to Visha or involving the Visha. Visha Vikam. Vikam is swelling, and not only in Visha Vikam. Visha Vikam here, direct reference to viper bites wherein swelling is noticed like this. These are cases of viper bites wherein you have a blister also, saw-scaled viper especially. It is the blister, and in other cases, the common presentation is swelling in viper bites. So huge swelling, which is increasing, progressive swelling, and patients get panicked because of this progressive swelling, the way it progresses. And Shigru Punarnavadi Lepa is applied again and again, over and over again. This is a speciality also. Usually when we apply Lepa, we apply it only once or twice in a day and then wash it off before it dries. But in Shigru Punarnavadi Lepa, we don't do that. We apply it over and over again also. That is the way it is applied by traditional Vishavaidyas. And it gives very good results in reducing or controlling the spread of the swelling due to viper bites. Not only in viper bites, we have used this in several other conditions also, like inflammatory conditions wherein maybe because of allergic manifestation, some drug intake causing allergy and swelling, or maybe some pollens causing bhalataka going again below bhalatak and huge body swelling, or maybe such drugs which people who are prone to allergic manifestation of certain intake of drugs, sulfa drugs for example, when they present themselves with swelling, anasarka, either in the face or in the body, in such conditions also, this Shigru Punarnavadi Lepa is acting very well. I have used it personally and it gives very good results. Even in condition of inflammatory arthritis, when we have used all the other lepas, normally used lepas, many a times we go for somewhere we use this Shigru Punarnamadi lepa and we have found good results with Shigru Punarnamadi lepa even in conditions of inflammatory arthritis. And where you have the use of Arkapatra Sveda, I don't know if you use Arkapatra Sveda in NIA, you must be using, wherein about 10 to 15 Arkapatras are placed one over the other, and then you tied them on two corners, and in between you break it down, and then with the ghee, heated ghee a little in a pan, and that ghee, Arkapatra, the potali which is prepared is kept on the ghee, and then it is kept on the site of inflammation or swelling. This is the use of Arkapatra. Usually in Vrishika Damsha we do Arkapatra Sveda. And even in such condition where there is swelling, instead of Arkapatra, because it is a tedious procedure, Arkapatra Sveda, one can go for the use of Shigru Punarnamadi. Shigru Punarnamadi is available in the market, and it must be used for external modality. Again, the rasa is Tikta Pradhana, Katu Madhura, Tikta Madhura Katu. Though it is external modality, the drugs used, you can see it is Tikta Pradhana only. And the gunas again, Laghu and Ruksha Guna Pradhana Dravyas. Karma, all these drugs, majority of them, 42% possess Vishagna property, followed by, this also has Lekana Karma. That is why maybe in certain cases where when Lekana is necessity, we can go for the application of Shigru Punarnamadi, Shotahara. And you can see, though the action is Shotahara, the percentage wise, if you calculate in the Amshamsha Kalpana of individual drugs, only 17% account for Shotaharatva and 42% accounts for Vishaharatva. So Visha Vikam is the specific indication, and this can be seen in the Amshamsha Kalpana of the individual drugs as well. The last drug I would like to touch upon is the Koshatakyadi Yavagu. This is a Yavagu Kalpana, which is mentioned both in Sushruta as well as in Ashtanga Hridaya. I have taken the reference of Ashtanga Hridaya, slight variations in both of them. Koshataki, Agnikaha, Pata, Suryavalli, Amrita, Abhaya, Sheluhu, Shirishaha, Kinihi, Haridre, Kshaudra Savaya, Punarnave, Trikatukam, Brahatyau, Sarive Bala, Yesham, Yavagum, Niryuhe, Shitam, Sagritamakshikam, Junjad, Vegantare, Sarva Vikshagnim, Kritakarmanaha. This is a beautiful Yavagu Kalpana. Very less time we get such Yavagu Kalpanas mentioned. And in the Falashruti, I would like to draw your attention towards this Yunjad Vegantare. In between the Vegas, we know the definition of Vegas. Dhatuantareshu iha saptakala samparikirtitaha sashu ekakam atikramya vegam prakarute visham. So the dhatus are being involved one by one, and in such conditions, in between these Vega Antare, in between these Vegas, one has to go for the use of Koshatakyadi Yavagu, and it causes Sarva Vishagnim, all sorts of Vishaharatva. It has property Kritakarmanaha. After the Vishahara procedures are being done, you should go for the usage of Koshatakyadi Yavagu. Now, when we see the use of Vega in Vishachikitsa, for me, even after so many years, I've not had lots of clinical experience. But when I speak to people having good clinical experience also, the concept of Vega is not very clear to us. What is Prathama Vega? What is Dvitiya Vega? What grossly we can understand is the dhatus are eventually involved, and it is a phase of transition. That is the Vega. In several diseases, we get the reference of Vega in Charaka Samhita. Maybe we have the Vega, use of Vega in Jwara. We have the use of Vega in Chardi. We have it in Vatavyadi, Apasmara, Unmada, and many more diseases maybe. And we specifically are concerned with Visha Vega. So what I feel that the use of Yavagu, what we have learned is mainly in Taruna Jwara. In Jwara, we have a lot of Yavagus been mentioned. Then we have one reference of Koshatakyadi Yavagu here in Visha Vega concept. This is in general not specific to either Sarpa, Kita or anywhere. It is in generally, it is explained in Ashtanga Hridaya, first 35th chapter itself, the first chapter of Visha, it is explained. So this Yunjat Vegantare gives us lots of clue that in any chronic debilitating disease wherein there is progressive involvement of dhatu or dhatu kshaya, body is moving towards dhatu kshaya, maybe we have to take this Koshatakyadi Yavagu. This must be used. So again, Sharad Pote sir, if you are listening to this, or the students, I would like to tell you that kindly make use of this Koshatakyadi Yavagu in patients of cancer and try to find out the effect of Koshatakyadi Yavagu, how it works in the Yavagu form itself. The individual drugs, Koshataki, Agnika, which is Ajamoda, Patha, Guduchi, Haritaki, Sheluhu, Shirisha, Kinihi, which is Apamarga, Haridra, Punarnava, Shunti, Maricha, Pippali, Brihati Kantakari, Sariva, and Bala. All drugs are available, commonly available drugs. Now, how it is prepared? Some people who use this in their clinical practice, they use directly the Kvata preparation itself because Yavagu may not be feasible always for preparing. So they use it in Kvata form. Koshatakyadi Kvata is been advised. Some some Vishavaidyas who prepare their own medicines, they even have store this in Gutika form. Koshatakyadi Agada is the word they use, and they use it in Gutika form. And Yavagu is the mentioned textual reference. If you have to prepare Yavagu, it is better you prepare it in the Yavagu Kalpana method as per Sharangadhara maybe. First you prepare the Kvata of Koshatakyadi Yavagu Kashaya Dravyas. You prepare the Kashaya by adding 16 parts of water and reducing it to 1/8. And that water is filtered out, that Kvata is being taken. With this Kvata, you add 1 part of rice and 6 parts of this Kvata and boil the rice until it is a semi-solid form. And that rice is given, पेट भर के नहीं देना चाहिए इसको, just a bowl of it, or maybe along with the normal food, 1 cup of this rice is given to patients in the form of Koshatakyadi Yavagu. This is practically, we have seen Vishavaidyas using Koshatakyadi Yavagu. It is very useful. I'll discuss on that a little. Again, is my time up, ma'am? Can I take 10 more minutes? This is my last rest.
As much you...
Okay. Okay, because I've taken 1 hour already. Just 10 more minutes maybe before I wind up. Again, the Koshatakyadi Yavagu, if you see, it is the Tikta and the Katurasa Pradhana, Kashaya, Rasayukta Dravya. And Koshatakyadi Yavagu, Guna, again, I guess I have missed that slide. Again, it is Laghu Ruksha Pradhana Gunas. In almost all the drugs you can see, it is Laghu Ruksha only. Laghu Ruksha Tikshna Pradhana Dravya. And then nowadays in Kerala, we see publications or where there is huge cases even during COVID season, or maybe now we have after COVID, it is dengue, which is heard of a lot. And it is almost endemic, you can say, or pandemic, not pandemic, endemic to certain areas where you find cases, you find more number of cases. Such places also, Koshatakyadi is used in the form of either Gutika or Kvata form, and everyday basis people are given this Kvata. And there is a concept of Karkataka Kanni in Kerala, that is the gruel, rice gruel has been prepared and used in Karkataka Masa. Similarly, Vishachikitsakas propagate Yavagu, this Koshatakyadi Yavagu or Kanni, which is gruel preparations, in such areas which are prone for such viral epidemics. So such areas we frequently get to hear the use of Koshatakyadi Yavagu, very effective clinically also. So I wish to give my appeal to the Department of Agada and NIA that patients of cancer, especially to Pote sir, that please do try both Ekasara Gana and Koshatakyadi Yavagu. You have patients who are admitted in your ward, so maybe Yavagu Kalpana must be prepared and 1 bowl of Yavagu must be given on daily basis under Patya Kalpana. And the effect must be seen in patients. It not only is Vishahara, it also acts on Agni because it is in Yavagu form. Samsarjana Krama we know. Gruel Yavagu has its own role to play in Samsarjana Krama, maybe in Manda, Peya or Vilepi form. In this Yavagu also, you can prepare it in any thin thickness, either manda form, peya form, or rilepi form. And then this should be advised to patients and the effect should be seen. To summarize on the yogas that I have discussed, very what surprisingly, if you see all these 5 dravyas that we have seen, if we list it like this, it is the tikta kashaya or tikta katu, tikta rasa, which is predominant in all these 5 drugs that we have discussed on. Lagu ruksha, lagu followed by ruksha. Lagu ruksham mashu vishadam is what we start the vishagunas with, and all the agadas that we clinically use also surprisingly are rich of lagu and ruksha guna. And by prabhava also we can see that they have vishagna properties, followed by kushtagna, krimigna, and rudya also, deepana pachana, and rakta shodhaka. This is seen in huge. So this is summarized in graphical form. That's all. Tikta rasa and lagu ruksha guna. Maybe I am not yet able to understand the concept of action by rasa or action. Of course, tikta rasa, we get references that tikta pradhana rasas are vishagna by nature, and lagu ruksha again, they have their own role to play. As I've said, we the Vishachikitsaka consider it as the hita ahita use of aushadha. In Chaturvimshati Upakrama, we have different forms mentioned wherein Aushadha, Prativisha, and Prashamana is being mentioned. So for us, when we consider Aushadha, we consider those drugs which act on the lakshanas of a disease. And when we consider Prashamana, maybe we use drugs which acts on the Vishagna or Prativisha also, we take drugs which have Vishagna property. So all these come under those category only. Prashamana maybe because they have Vishagna property also. And these drugs are commonly, they must be used. At least you should have knowledge. Before I wind up, I would like to share one small recent experience that I had in an interview which I faced. We had people, about 10 students, applicants we had interview for a post of a lecturer or maybe assistant professor. And the common question that was asked was, given an opportunity, how well will you develop the OPDs or clinical application of Agad Tantra? And we wanted to seek the opinion of the applicants that how can they develop this branch. And there also, one common question I usually ask students is, name 5 Vishahara yogas that you like or that you wish to practice. We got so vague answers from students with from applicants with 5 years of teaching experience, 8 years of teaching experience into clinical practice. Students are not able to even name certain yogas. They start with, as I've said, Dushi Vishari, Dashanga, and Bilvadi goes without saying. But after that, they cannot continue. What they continue is Punarnavadi, Aragvadadi, and all the rest, which no wonder have certain role in Vishachikitsa, but they are not purely Vishahara Dravyas. What we want to hear is the use of, maybe you can say that you don't have clinical exposure, but you should show that you have the knowledge. Kalyanaka Grita, Ekasaragana, Vishavilvadi, Shigru Punarnavadi, Koshatakya Yabagu, or Kashaya, all these are the drugs. And one answer that I received was, if I get an opportunity, I don't have clinical exposure, but I will go back to Kerala and I will learn the prayoga of drugs and I will come back to the institute and practice. This is not expected in answer. All this should be done in a stage of student life only. You cannot expect somebody to give you an opportunity when you are a teacher in an institute, when you have an OPD, and then you cannot go back and start learning from phase 1. With this background, I'm really very happy that Aushadha Jijnasa has taken up this step, so that wherever we are, whatever we are practicing, this is really a positive step taken. We can have discussions through online modes. I'm extremely happy that I was given an opportunity, though my clinical applicability is very less these days, but I'm very hopeful I come back next time to address you people. I'll also have my documented clinical history maybe with patients here. Very soon, maybe we'll start out with our OPDs here also, hopefully. And I'm very thankful to the organizers for having taken up this venture of Aushadha Jijnasa, which is the need of the hour, so that our students who are seeking post-graduation in this specialty, wherever they are, they get to know regarding the clinical applicability of certain drugs. And they can use it whenever they get an opportunity. Thank you. Thank you all for your patient hearing.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for such intriguing lecture. As you rightly said, we definitely need more exposure to many yogas of Agad, which we don't know, and that will also be very useful to the students who opt for to become clinicians also. Thank you. It was a very, very nice lecture, ma'am. Very intriguing lecture. Thank you so much. If now anyone has any query, he or she can unmute themselves and can ask ma'am, or they can put the query in chat box and we will share it with ma'am. In the meantime, there is a one query, ma'am. Dr. Renu Sharma, PhD scholar, has asked, Namaste, ma'am. In many Agad yogas, Lavan Varga is used like Ajit Agad. Ma'am, I want to know how Lavan Varga works on pacifying the Visha condition.
I don't know. I really don't know how I should answer this question. How Lavana Varga is used works on pacifying the Visha condition, because we have seen in all Dravyas, Lavana Varjita Dravyas are only selected. So Lavana Varga in specifically, maybe only when I have not used any Agadas which are rich in Lavana Varga, so I don't think so I can answer that question. I'm sorry, I might need some time.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, one more question from my side. Can we use Agad drugs in respiratory allergies also?
Of course, for us, Kasa, Shwasa, which are long term, they are manifestation of Dushi Visha only and not just Kasa, Shwasa. There is an involvement of Dushi Visha there. If it is a long history and if it is allergic, of course, all sorts of allergy are somewhere or the other related with the concepts of Dushi Visha only again. So, in addition to the routine prescriptions that we follow in Kasa or Shwasa, we add on such dravyas like Vishavilvadi or Dushi Vishari Gutika, and we try to see the changes. I would suggest that you start using such drugs and for yourself find the changes.
Okay, okay. Thank you, ma'am. Any more query? I think there is no more query, ma'am, because we still need to learn all this. So that's why. So now I request Dr. Dinesh Kumawat, sir, Assistant Professor, Department of Agad Tantra, NIA, to thank our revered guest speaker, ma'am, and to deliver official vote of thanks. Dinesh Kumawat, sir, please.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
On the behalf of the Department of Agad, myself, Dr. Dinesh Kumar, Assistant Professor of Agad, NIA Jaipur, is honored for having the opportunity to offer the vote of thanks. As we know that today's webinar was on clinical implication of certain Agad yogas, and Professor Shobha Bhat ma'am has clearly explained it very well. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our today's speaker, Professor Shobha Bhat ma'am, for delivering such knowledgeable lecture. The session was very enlightening. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your valuable insights regarding the topic. You have explained very well different Agad yogas. I sincerely convey my deep sense of gratitude to our Honorable VC Sir, Professor Sanjeev Sharma Sir, for his constant support. I convey my heartfelt gratitude to Professor Meeta ma'am, HOD Department of Dravyaguna, Professor Anita Sharma ma'am, HOD Department of Agad, and Professor Anupam Sir, HOD Department of Rasashastra, for organizing such a knowledgeable webinars. I also thanks all the faculty members, PG, PhD scholars, and all participants who have joined the webinar and making it successfully. At last, I thank the IT team NIA for their technical support. Once again, thank you all.
Thank you, sir. The session is complete now. Thank you, one and all. Thank you.